Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. And this morning we're talking about electric cars.
Now, just last month, California moved to ban the sale of new gasoline-fueled cars by 2035, and more than a dozen states are expected to move in a similar direction.
Now, our question that we've been asking today is, would you ever own an electric car? Make sure you vote online through our app and take part in the discussion on our KOAM Facebook page.
Plus, our good friend and KOAM's chief meteorologist, Doug Hetty, sits down with Dow Quick to talk about the 88 Strong Passing It On Foundation and a special event that's planned this weekend.
But first, our top stories right now at 7. Coming up, the city of Miami gets ready to inject a $2 million grant into improving its roadways and other projects.
Taking a look at the future track, as I just get a little too ahead of myself. We are looking at the possibility of some rain next week, but we've got a ways before it gets here. We'll break it all down coming up.
And KOAM's own Yana Hatula takes us to Welch, Oklahoma to show us how one family farm is trying to beat the heat and drought sweltering their pumpkin patch.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. It is a wonderful start day. We got a lot of great stuff coming up on the show.
Can you smell it?
Yes, I can. It's a shame we don't have smell-o-vision yet. On the other hand, maybe that's a good thing. But in this case, it's a bad thing we don't have it because, boy, what Chef Anthony is making smells absolutely delicious. Great recipe here.
We're making apple pie poutine. It's something new to me. I've had regular poutine, different variations of it, but never apple pie poutine. So I'm excited about this. And we're using his Nana's apple pie recipe to make it too.
It's going to be he's fanning it our direction right now.
He just baked off his, you know what? Just bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah, come on over.
This is freshly baked.
Look at this.
This is his pie crust. I don't know if we can.
It's hot.
Turn
Yeah,
it.
don't
Lift it up a little bit.
Don't touch it.
There you go.
Yeah, look at that.
This is his award-winning pie crust, but it's made into strips.
And here's the
we
deal.
will explain
That's
how we're
just
going to
the
use
crust,
this.
and that's
Yes.
how good that smells. So we're going to talk all about that coming up. Also, on this day in weather history, let's find out what happened. And in fact, this is not far up the way on I-49. 1988, Kansas City was soaked with 4.59 inches of rain and up to 8 inches of rain in 3 days, bringing relief from a severe drought. Severe drought is where we are right now, and we are definitely needing relief, but that's not on the way anytime soon, unfortunately. Despite some clouds today, there's no rain expected. We'll stay hot and dry all the way into the start of next week, and we're still watching some storm chances by next week. Skywatch Storm Tracker, nothing to really show on the local level. What's out there is not actually happening. We zoom out, excuse me, lower 48, you can see there is rain happening, just not in our neck of the woods right now. 7th and range line, sunrise looks absolutely beautiful, 62 degrees as we start this day with a few clouds. Those clouds will increase as the day goes on. We've got 60 in Fredonia, 61 Chanute, 62 Fort Scott and Nevada and Lamar and Carthage as we start this beautiful Thursday morning. Allergies, pollen, another major issue that we're dealing with. We've got a 9.3 out of 12 today, 8.6 out of 12 today. So if you're outdoors, make sure that you do have the allergy medicine with you. Mostly cloudy today, as we mentioned, 89 for an afternoon high. Tonight, the clouds will eventually break up and give us an overnight low of 62 degrees. And on the 7-day forecast, you can see where it stays miserable. 92 tomorrow, we clear out with the clouds, and then here we go into the upper 90s all the way through the start of next week. Overnight lows in the mid-70s in some cases. But we're watching a cold front Thursday into Friday. It's going to drop our temperatures about 10 to 15 degrees, which will be great. It's just a matter of how much moisture it has to work with to determine how much rain we can get. Still watching chances for rain Thursday into Friday, but hopefully we can get a little more moisture in here and bring more much-needed rain to the area to help with the drought situation.
And that drought situation is causing problems for some communities, that's for sure. In Caney, Kansas, the city has announced a water emergency. This declaration means mandatory water conservation for all citizens and businesses in Caney and means no water used for outdoor watering, either public or private, commercial, agricultural, industrial purposes, except water actually necessary to maintain the health and personal hygiene of bona fide employees of such business or interest, while such employees are engaged in the performance of their duties at their place of employment. This is listed like this on their website. The declaration is effective immediately. Residents are warned they can face disconnection of services or even citations if they use unnecessary water. Again, this is breaking this morning. We'll have more details on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com as the story develops. The city of Miami, Oklahoma gets ready to receive a more than $2 million grant to help with road improvements and other projects after the city completed more than $580,000 in street projects last fiscal year. City budgeted a little more than $3.2 million for streets this fiscal year. The American Rescue Plan gives the city more than $2 million, much of which will be used for road projects. The City Council has also approved using more than $371,000 from sales tax revenue for roads. Street Department manager says the city has begun working on determining what roads to fix first.
Right now, we have approximately 30 that we have had a GIS, a Geographical Information System, test run on. So to determine which ones that were needed to be completely repaired or the ones that we could actually save with crack sealing or slurry sealing or something like that.
Barger says there is a 5-year plan for completion of all repairs. Well, the heat has affected corn, soybeans, and many other crops this summer here in the 4 states, and pumpkin patches are no exception. Annabelle's Fun Farm in Welch, Oklahoma is trying to grow as many pumpkins as they can for their pumpkin patch month of October. And usually the farm produces up to 40,000 pumpkins, but this year it's far less. The owner says it looks like they'll have to rely on farmers in Nebraska to bring them more pumpkins for people to collect.
Especially now that the fuel has gone up, the shipping is more expensive. So yeah, we'll get several semi-loads in, and shipping we'll just have to absorb that because we can't really go up on our prices of pumpkins. So same prices last year, we'll just keep it the same.
Annabelle's Fun Farm will open October 1st. On this date in 1978, Muhammad Ali defeats Leon Spinks at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans to win the world heavyweight boxing title for the 3rd time in his career, the first fighter to ever do so. Following the victory on October 2nd, 1980, he returned to the ring and fought heavyweight champ Larry Holmes, who knocked him out in the 11th round. After losing to Trevor Berbick on December 11th, 1981, Ali left the ring for the last time with a record of 56 wins, 5 losses, and 37 knockouts. In '84, he was revealed to have Parkinson's disease. Muhammad Ali died June 3rd, 2016.
Quick look at that 7-day forecast. This is actually the 10-day. We get hot, temperatures pushing the upper 90s next week. Then we're watching a cold front by the end of next week, bringing temperatures down and hopefully some much needed rain chances. Still ahead on the KOAM Morning News, we are going to take a look at Chef Anthony and what he has to offer us this morning with his apple pie poutine, which he's prepping right now in our test kitchen.
And later, a new study shows kids who walk or ride their bikes to school will continue a physical commute years later. We'll have the details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. In our 6 o'clock hour, we started making our pie crust, which Chef Anthony turned into beautiful looking French fries.
Isn't that great?
This is so awesome.
Is it starting to come and make a little bit of sense now?
It makes so much sense. Okay, so what we're making today is apple pie poutine. And a traditional poutine is like French fries with like cheese curds and gravy and stuff.
Yeah. All the goodies that people like, just elevating gravy fries to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And putting some popular flavors on them.
So an apple pie poutine uses pie crust looking like French fries.
That's right.
That's the base. I get it now.
So, and that's my grandma's apple pie recipe.
Okay.
Or excuse me, my grandmother's pie
it.
crust recipe. And this should look very familiar because this has been done on here before. Mm-hmm. This is Nana's apple pie recipe.
Yes, it is.
So we're just cooking the apples down with sugar, and I put just a little bit of water in there because the apples produce enough water on their own as they cook.
How long do you need to cook your apples?
Until they're tender, until they get to the desired tenderness that you want.
So even though this is Nana's apple pie, you're using Granny Smith
Yes,
apples?
I'm using Granny Smith on this one because I like the little bit of sour. I think it plays very nicely with the sweetness. Mm-hmm. So, and most people around here, they're really into this whole sweet and sour.
Yes.
So cinnamon on top. And I'm adding that now so that it all cooks together just a little bit. The flavor penetrates into the apples.
Ooh, I can smell that cinnamon.
And we're going to get it a good mix and let our apples cook a little bit, and then we're going to start to thicken it. And now I brought cornstarch with me, but one of the key things that you're going to have to watch with cornstarch is that you don't over thicken it. So I brought 3/4 of a cup of cornstarch, but I may not need it all. We'll just add it a little bit until we get to our desired consistency, and then we'll spoon it right over our crust French fries.
Ooh.
So.
Sweetest poutine ever.
Oh, yes. And this kind of came to me, a friend of mine, Chef Lou, he was like, oh, I'm playing around with some pie crust. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds so good. And it was from then on, it was just like, I'm going to do that on the air. And the Granny Smith apples are really good. My friends over at Martinez Produce took really good care of me in providing these apples. I tried one. They're just about perfect.
Nice.
So.
I've always had great luck getting the produce from Martinez,
yes.
and their apples are delicious too.
They have such a variety.
I agree.
So. And it's fitting that we're doing this because Baking and Pastry's studying pies.
Very nice.
So they're learning.
Are you guys doing something baking related for the school this week as well?
We are actually. We have two things going. We announced yesterday officially the first annual PHS Culinary Dragons Bake Off.
Okay.
Which will be coming up in November, on November 5th. It's a Saturday. You can sign up, scan the QR code that's on your screen. There's two categories, breads and then cakes or desserts. So cakes, cookies,
so
cupcakes.
This is for students?
This is for students.
Okay.
And two divisions, middle school and high school.
Oh, wow.
So sign up, see your teacher. If your teacher is like, well.
Okay, so this is not just for Pittsburgh students. You
This
guys
is
are
for
inviting
everybody.
students all across the 4 states.
Yes, we reached out as far as Springfield, Joplin. We've gone down south to Galena, as far north as Lewisburg. But if you're still seeing this, please come join us.
That's awesome.
We would love to have you.
All right, well, you heard it here first.
I'm going to add a little bit of my cornstarch in here. And
I noticed you got it on a pretty heavy boil.
Yes, I want to make sure that my apples, normally I would do this a little slower, but since we're under a time constraint,
Okay.
I'm heating it up a little bit more. But now my apples are almost there.
Nice.
I can actually start to
You want them to
see how tender they are.
still look firm, but be very
Yes.
soft at the same time.
And now we're starting to thicken up, and we're going to add just a little bit more water because it's almost perfect. But I imagine when we come back, it will be spot on perfect.
Oh, it's really thickened up nicely. All right, well, we will let you continue stirring that and get it to perfection. So when we come back from the break, we can top off our apple pie poutine with Chef Anthony. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Chef Anthony Test Kitchen, our newly named Test Kitchen. Why not, right?
Why not? Sounds like good to me.
And we're making something that just smells absolutely delicious this morning, apple pie poutine.
So we have our apple pie filling. It's absolutely gorgeous. The apples are not mush, they're tender, so they hold a little bit of the body to them. Just like potatoes, you don't want to overcook them. You want them to have a little bit of that crisp freshness that makes the apple unique in the middle.
And talk about your crust here too.
And the crust, what alls I did is I laid it out, let it rest. I cut it into strips, random sizes, because it's supposed to represent French fries. And then I baked it in the oven at 350 degrees until they were done.
Yeah, and I mean, they're break apart.
They're really nice and soft and flaky. Go right ahead.
Yummy by itself. I can't wait to see what it tastes like. That's going to be really hot though, by the way.
We're going to take some of our apple pie filling and we're just going to ladle it right on top.
Okay. It makes such a pretty presentation.
Oh, yes.
The only problem is, how do you divide this fairly?
You know, I will tell you now, my firm belief in appetizer is first come, first serve.
So this is an appetizer.
This would be an appetizer or a dessert, however you like to do it, but it's designed to be shared.
Yes.
Because you know me, I like to share because food is all about memories and compassion and everything for the individuals consuming it. So.
Well, thank you for sharing with us this morning.
You know, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, I want to get a little bit of the crust in with it. I think I have some. Crust and apple. It's going to be hot. You just pull it straight off the stove. Okay, while I blow on this and attempt to burn my mouth. Why don't you tell us what we might have in store next week?
Next week, we're going to do ratatouille. And for those of you who are thinking, no, the rat's name is Remy, and Remy makes ratatouille. So we're going to make the movie ratatouille dish.
Ooh.
So ratatouille was a peasant stew back in history. So we're going to elevate it and make the same dish that they made in the movie.
That's really cool.
So, and I'm planning on bringing some students with me to help me assemble it.
That would be great. It'd be great to have some of your kids back in the studio.
It would. I'm excited to have them. I have a great group of students this year, and I cannot wait for them to showcase what they're doing.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting, and I give this recipe 2 thumbs up. I'm going in for seconds. Like you said, first come, first serve, right?
That's right.
Just kidding. I'll share some for you guys, don't worry. So good. So good. You can find this recipe on our website with all 3 segments that we use to make this later this morning at KOAMnewsnow.com.
All right. Well, and don't forget, sign up for the baking competition that's coming up. Your students are to be more than welcome to come. If you're in middle school or high school, come and join us. It's going to be a wonderful event. Now remember, you make this at home and bring the completed project with you. That's the key. We're not baking it at the school, you're baking it at home, bringing the completed project with you.
So you're on the honor system that you make it, not your parents?
Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
It sounds great.
All right. We will be right back.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Elmer Beale. First Sergeant Beale served in the Army from 1943 to 45. He served in France, Germany, and Central Europe. During his service, he earned the American Service Medal and European, African, Middle Eastern Service Medal, among many others. A native of Fort Scott, we thank you, today's 4-state hero, Elmer Beale. A new study found that children who walk or bike to school are more likely to continue a physical commute years later. According to the National Household Travel Survey, about 11% of children walk or bike to school. That rate hasn't changed in 10 years. New research from Rutgers University appears to explain why. Scientists tracked students' travel habits from 587 households in New Jersey. They found more than 75% of children who were active commuters, either biking or walking to school, continued that trend 2 to 4 years later. Few students took up a physical commute during that time frame. Researchers say the biggest barrier was distance to the school, especially once students had reached the high school level. And we are looking at reaching some pretty unpleasant temperatures over the next several days. Today, we're going to have some clouds, but despite that, we're not expecting any rainfall, unfortunately. And these hot and dry conditions continue into next week. And we are watching some rain chances around Thursday of next week, which once you see our 7-day forecast here in a couple of minutes, you're going to know exactly why we need those rain chances. We are good right now, but see out to the west, we've got clouds increasing, and that trend will continue through today. Showers and thunderstorms in Nebraska and some up off in Minnesota, but nothing in our area, and unfortunately, that's the way it's going to stay. 7th and range line, sunrise looking pretty good. You can see the clouds already on the increase in Joplin, 62 degrees as we start the day. Across the area, we're starting off pretty good. 61 in Fredonia, 61 in Independence, 62 Columbus, 63 Lamar, and 63 in Carthage. We're also dealing with high pollen counts, and because of that, the pollen alert level, or the pollen level today rather, is a 9.3 out of 12, which puts it in the moderately high category, and it remains moderately high tomorrow as we look at 8.6 out of 12. Going through the rest of today, we're going to be mostly cloudy as the clouds will increase throughout the day. Afternoon high of 89 degrees. Clouds will eventually clear out slightly late tonight and early tomorrow morning. We'll have an overnight low of 62. And then the weekend. The weekend is what starts a very unpleasant several days ahead. We go 94 Saturday, mostly clear. 98 Sunday and partly cloudy skies. 98 degrees. And we're looking at lows start to creep up into the lower to mid 70s. So let's take a look at the future track. Future track does show where it tries to get some showers in here both Friday and then into Saturday evening. But unfortunately, most of us are really going to remain dry. And as you can see, we're going to remain hot over the next several days as well. It's not until the end of next week where we actually start to see a halfway decent chance of any kind of rain. And this is Thursday early morning. We have a cold front, and you can see back behind the front what the temperatures are, and ahead of the front what the temperatures are. So the one thing that this cold front is going to do is it's going to bring our temperatures down. The question that we're still keeping an eye on, that we need the answer to, and we'll have a better handle on the answer here in the next few days, is how much moisture this front is going to have to work with. If it doesn't have a lot, then we won't see a lot of rain. But if it gets enough, then we'll be in business, because over the next 7 days, take a look at these temperatures as we soar into the upper 90s starting this weekend, and that trend holds all the way through Wednesday and even into Thursday. And then Thursday, that cold front comes in, drops our temperatures 10 to 15 degrees, and brings us right now some slight shower and thunderstorm chances. Hopefully those chances increase, because over the next several days, the drought situation will not improve. In fact, I'm slightly concerned we could see the situation worsen. So we really need rain to come in on Thursday, and that's what we're keeping our fingers crossed for. More of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, Delaware County releases more details about 2 recently found bodies.
We've got a decent start to the day, but we have got a hot several days ahead. We're going to break it all down coming up.
And we'll have how the heat is affecting pumpkin patches.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30.
It is. It's 7:30, which means there's only 30 more minutes left of, well, now 29 minutes left of the 4 states only, when you look at it, 3-hour morning show.
Yeah.
I mean, it runs continuous for 3 hours, just splits between 2 channels.
So we have been, getting closer to fall. One of my favorite things to do every fall, in October especially, is visit the pumpkin patch.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the drought situation making things tough for pumpkin patches here locally. Do we discuss that?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
I
do.
just teased it.
Okay, well, I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking
a
about
reporter
weather.
that we sent, Yana Hatula, she had told me she's never been to a pumpkin patch.
That
So
must have been a treat.
she's super excited that she got to go cover this story.
See, that's the great thing. We're a good starting market for a lot of new young journalists, and here in this region, you get to experience a lot. Like poor Bronte Saratsky was from California, had never really seen snow before, and then 2 months in, we got that February storm. And boy, she was like, I don't know that I can even drive on this, because she'd never experienced it before. So you really get, and that's just the weather, not to mention the stories, the people, the places around here. We take it for granted because, I'm from here, you've lived here long enough that we tend to take this stuff for granted.
Basically, I'm from Western Kansas originally, but
Yeah.
I've been here 17 years. So yeah.
But when we get new folks in, it's kind of like watching kids learn things for the first time. It's like watching them, because they get so excited to experience some of these places for the first time. So don't take it for granted. Get out there and see some of the cool things that there are to see, and do some of the cool things there are to do. And the weather, at least, is going to cooperate for some of that. 7th and Rangeline, as you can see, we have a nice sunrise, but increasing cloud cover already. 62 degrees in Joplin. We've got 60s for the most part across the area. 62 Yates Center, 61 Chanute, 59 in Parsons, and 62 in Columbus. What we're also dealing with is a high pollen count, and for today, we're looking at a 9.3 out of 12 and an 8.6 out of 12 for tomorrow. So that's the moderately high category, just shy of the high. 89 degrees with mostly cloudy skies through the day today. Overnight tonight, we're looking at an overnight low of 62, and clouds will start to gradually clear out very late tonight, leaving us mostly clear for Friday. I want to just skip right to the 7-day forecast, because this is where it gets interesting. So 92 tomorrow, we start to clear out, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Temperatures soar into the upper 90s through the weekend and into the beginning of next week. We stay hot, we stay dry, and overnight lows even getting into the near mid-70s. Then the 10-day forecast, and this is where it gets a little tough. We've got a cold front coming in Thursday. It's going to bring temperatures down about 10 to 15 degrees. We know that. The question is how much moisture we're going to get in ahead of that cold front to determine how much rain we're going to get. Right now, the chances are low, but we're very hopeful that they'll increase, because this is only going to make our drought situation worse over the next several days. So hopefully we can get some good rain in here on Thursday. And of course, we'll keep an eye on that as we get closer to Thursday. Fingers crossed. Do whatever it takes. Do your rain dance. Wash your car several times. Mow your yard even if it doesn't need to be mowed. Anything it takes to get us some rain next week.
I am to blame. I haven't mowed my yard in a while. I'm behind, and I
So this whole
feel
thing,
like this whole drought is because of me.
This is your fault. Mow your yard, Tanya, or at least wash your car 2 or 3 times today, okay? Do your part in
My
bringing
husband
rain.
washes our vehicles like every day, so those get washed. And
All
that
right, well,
doesn't
then
seem to
you
make
need-
a
then
difference. But
obviously it's
I
the
think
mowing
it's
the
because
yard.
I'm not mowing the yard.
Get out there and mow the yard.
Yeah,
It's going to be cloudy, so it won't be too miserable. Mow the yard.
yeah.
Everybody, go mow your yard. Go wash your car. Anything to bring some rain, because we absolutely need it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in Oklahoma say 2 people found dead Tuesday night in Delaware County were killed in a crash. The bodies were found in a ditch near Highway 28 and 395 Road. Authorities initially stated they found the bodies of a man and a young boy, but now they've identified them as 22-year-old Shelby Black Fox of Oklahoma City and 46-year-old Ronald Hogsshooter of Frederick, Oklahoma. The 2 were found near a car, and authorities believe they were ejected from that car in a single vehicle crash, though it's unclear what led to the crash. The heat has affected corn, soybeans, and many more plants this summer here in the 4-state area. Pumpkin patches are no exception. Annabelle's Fun Farm in Welch, Oklahoma is trying to grow as many pumpkins as it can for the pumpkin patch month of October. Usually the farm produces up to 40,000 pumpkins, but this year it's far less, and the owner says it looks like they'll have to rely on farmers in Nebraska to bring them more pumpkins for people to collect.
Especially now that the fuel has gone up, the shipping is more expensive. So, yeah, we'll get several semi-loads in, and shipping we'll just have to absorb that because we can't really go up on our prices of pumpkins. So, same prices last year. We'll just keep it the same.
Annabelle's Fun Farm will open October 1st.
All right, so this morning we've been talking about electric vehicles. In California, they made history last month when they decided to ban the sale of gasoline-fueled cars by 2035. Now, because the state is the largest auto market in the country, the measure could, in fact, move other states across the country in a similar direction. Already, more than a dozen other states are set to follow California's example. For years, critics have said electric cars are too expensive, but like all things, the cost of technology is becoming cheaper to manufacture and more readily available. And that does lead us to our something to talk about this morning. Would you ever own an electric car? An overwhelming amount of you say no. 79%. 21% of you say you would. Make sure you vote through our website, through the app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Our very own Doug Heddy and Dow Quick come onto the morning show to talk about the Christian Heddy Foundation's 88 Strong and Passing It On event. And most bears don't have manners. However, we'll meet a bear who, when asked to close a door, that's right, well, he just closes that door.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You don't often see us on the morning show, Dow Quick, meteorologist Doug Heddy, but we're here to talk about a special fundraiser that's coming up this coming Saturday. And before we get to that, this fundraiser that's going to benefit area families dealing with cancer, we want to talk about the young man who's inspired this fundraiser and the young man this is dedicated to. That is your late son, Christian Heddy, we lost last year.
Yeah, we actually just passed the 1-year anniversary. Christian was diagnosed June of 2020. He was only 11 years old. He had DSRCT cancer, or DSRCT sarcoma. It was stage 4, and you know, the whole reason we're doing this is the battle that we saw that kid go through for 15 months.
A lot of people saw this battle, Doug.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us were fortunate enough to have known Christian personally, but 100,000 or so knew him indirectly because they followed him on TikTok. We're going to show a little bit of his TikTok video, and then also some photos from Christian, his adventures over the years. People got to know this guy, realized what a precious person he was. Tell me about him, this individual.
Yeah, first off, he was an old soul. We always joke that it was like talking to a 40-year-old man. He was just an old soul, but he told his whole journey on TikTok. And it's, for me and my wife, we have his whole entire cancer journey documented, and we'll have for the rest of our lives. But he was just an extraordinary young, I guess, preteen.
Yeah, he was 12 years old.
Yeah.
He was extraordinary, and what you and your wife and others are doing to honor him is also extraordinary. And that's this fundraiser on Saturday. It's going to be at King Jack Park in Webb City. Just tell me a little bit about what's going on there.
Well, we got a 5K walk and run that's kicking off at 10 o'clock in the morning, but at 11 we have 12 food trucks that are coming. Kickball tournament starts at 11. At noon, cornhole tournament starts. That is still, you can still come out and sign up if you want. And then all afternoon long, we're having bands play. There's going to be food trucks. There's all kinds of other little vendors that are going to be set up. It should be a really good time. The weather's going to cooperate, which is great.
You should know that.
Yes. I kept my fingers crossed on that one.
I know you were sweating it out, I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of people pre-registered for various events, but of course you're welcoming people and encouraging people to come in, registered or not. This is going to be going on throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching some adults pull some hammies running around the kickball field, but it should be a great time. We actually have some pretty good bands set up, and the food trucks are also great as well. We got like 40 Harley bikes coming in.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to be a good day.
This is going to be fun for the entire family.
Absolutely.
And it's going to benefit families. Tell me specifically where the money is going.
So we started the Christian Hetty Foundation specifically to help families like what we went through, because a lot of families don't have time, and time is so valuable. So we want to be able to help local families that have kids with cancer or regional and say, hey, go do something. Go take a trip when you're feeling good. So that was the inspiration for this foundation.
I know it's going to be a success. It's a beautiful tribute to a beautiful young man. It's going to a great cause. And we invite people to come out and enjoy this.
Yeah,
so
should
enjoy
be
this.
fun.
King Jack Park on Saturday. We'll be right back.
All right, 7th and Range Line, we've got a decent start to the day. You can already see a few clouds increasing in the sky, and they'll continue to do that as the day goes on. We're starting off at 62 in Joplin, so not bad. We've got 62 Yates Center, 61 Chanute, 60 Parsons, 63 Columbus, and 61 down in Neosho. We're also dealing with a pretty high pollen count as well. As a matter of fact, today it is a 9.3 out of 12, which is in the moderately high, and it stays moderately high tomorrow, 8.6 out of 12. So if you've got outdoor plans, make sure you keep the allergy medicine somewhere convenient. We're going to warm up today under mostly cloudy skies, so that'll help keep our temperatures somewhat in check. 89 for an afternoon high. Clouds will clear out very late this evening and leave us with an overnight low of around 62 degrees. As we head into the weekend, that's when we start a warm up. 94 Saturday, 98 on Sunday, and our overnight lows start pushing into the lower to mid 70s. The future track does show where maybe on Friday and possibly on Saturday it tries to get some rain in here. I think overall most of us are going to remain dry, and we're going to stay dry for the next several days. Not only dry, but also quite hot. It's not until Thursday that we watch a cold front start to move into the area and bring us some shower and thunderstorm chances. But there's some questions on that. First, on the 7-day, you see where we really start to heat up. Highs pushing the upper 90s, and we just stay hot, dry, and clear. And then Thursday, that cold front. It's going to drop our temperatures, but we're wondering how much moisture it's going to have, and hopefully it gets enough to bring us some good shower and thunderstorm chances. Now, here's Tanya with some consumer news.
The Mortgage Bankers Association says the average interest rate on a 30-year loan has hit 6% for the first time since 2008. The industry trade group says that's essentially double from a year ago, adding that the high rates are causing some potential home buyers to stay on the sidelines. The group says mortgage applications fell 1.2% last week from the previous period. And the 83-year-old founder of Patagonia is giving away the entire outdoor clothing company worth about $3 billion to 2 environmental groups. Yvonne Chenard predicts the move will yield $100 million a year to help fund their climate change efforts. In a letter posted on Patagonia's website, he wrote, "Earth is now our only shareholder. Patagonia will remain a for-profit company. It says the money will help protect nature and biodiversity, support thriving communities, and fight the environmental crises." We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. Talk about polite. A bear in New Jersey has taught himself to close the front door that he nudges open, and he uses the doorknob.
Jeannie Moose reports on what may be the world's most mannerly black bear.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Close the door, you little stinker.
There are a lot of little and big stinkers living in the woods around Susan Kehoe's Vernon, New Jersey home, but only one of them does this.
Close the door, sweetie.
A bear polite enough to wipe his feet, and more than that.
Close the door. Close the door. Good boy.
How did you do that?
Well, I didn't do it. The bear did it. Good boy. Close it. Close it. Oh, what a good boy.
Susan says she didn't train the bear. She just urged him to close it after he nudged open the door she'd left ajar one day.
That guy is pretty damn smart.
She says he's done it maybe 24 times. How come you're so relaxed? You're so chill.
Because I know bears.
Susan has been a bear activist for years, fighting against the hunting of bears. She says this female, hanging out in her hammock, once left 3 cubs on her porch.
They drop their cubs off. They know they're safe here for me to babysit.
As for the doorknob puller, she warns folks not to try this at home. So does that bear have a name?
Mr. Doorman.
Susan says the gash on his head may have been from a fight with another male, or maybe he ran into a door. Whatever, with a voice like Honey, she calls him Hun.
No, hon. The door.
Jeannie Moose, CNN.
Boy, go ahead. All the way, hon. All the way.
New York.
Good boy.
It's just a little hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, with manners like that, he could maybe teach Goldilocks a thing or two.
I'm glad they explained why she wasn't freaking out about a bear. I wouldn't do that. I'd be freaking out about, oh my gosh, there's a bear in my house.
I wonder if she's like that bear had met her, in years past, and maybe she was Mama Bear to that. Black bear.
It is a distinct possibility. Let's talk some weather real quick. Allergies, pollen counts very high. We're looking at a 9.3 out of 12 today, 8.6 out of 12 tomorrow. So it is going to be nasty for allergy sufferers. The weather, though, we're going to stay mostly cloudy, afternoon high of 89. Heading into tonight, clouds will clear out late and leave us with an overnight low of 62 degrees. And heading into the weekend is the start of a big warm-up. 94 Saturday, 98 on Sunday, overnight lows into the 70s. I want to go right to the 7-day and spend some time here because there's a lot going on to talk about. So, 92 tomorrow, we start to clear out. We're mostly clear to partly cloudy for the next several days. We also see temperatures creeping up into the upper 90s. I mean, look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're pushing close to 100 degrees with those overnight lows in the 70s. Then Thursday, cold front. Cold front's coming, dropping temperatures 10 to 15 degrees. There's questions on the amount of moisture it'll have. We're holding on to some slight rain chances, but we're hoping to have better rain and thunderstorm chances by the time that front gets here because clearly we're going to need rain by the time we get to next Thursday. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Hundreds of thousands of mourners are paying their respects to Queen Elizabeth II as her coffin lies in state at Westminster Hall until her funeral on Monday. Today, King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla will travel to Wales. The trip completes the King's plan to visit all 4 nations of the United Kingdom as its new monarch. A federal jury in Chicago finds disgraced singer R. Kelly guilty of producing child pornography and enticing girls for sex. He was found not guilty of trying to rig a 2008 child pornography case that ended with his acquittal. A U.S. attorney says Kelly is facing between 10 and 90 years in prison. The 55-year-old is already serving a 30-year sentence in prison for various charges in New York. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky makes a rare trip outside Kyiv to a newly liberated region in the east. In Izium, just 6 miles from the front lines, troops raised Ukraine's flag in front of a burned-out city hall. Despite Russia's retreats, they have not given up. firing missiles into multiple cities in the south, killing several residents.
All right, quick check of the forecast. Afternoon high of 89 under mostly cloudy skies today. Clouds will clear out late tonight. Overnight low of 62. 92 tomorrow under mostly clear skies, and heading on to the weekend. 94 on Saturday, 98 on Sunday as we begin a warming trend. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We're back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.